Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess and in today's tutorial we're going to be learning how to make a pom-pom. I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you can make a pom-pom. One's going to be using a pom-pom maker such as this, one's going to be using a fork, and one's going to be using just your hand. You're going to need some yarn. I'm going to be using some Bella Coco Crochet yarn for this project. I'm also going to be using some Red Heart yarn and some Caron Simply Soft for the different pom-poms, but you use whatever yarn you'd like. It really does not matter. We're also going to need a pair of sharp scissors. This is so you can cut through your yarn because it's really thick when you're making a pom-pom. So once you've collected all your supplies, we will get started. So for our first tutorial, we are going to be using a Pom Pom Maker. Now you can buy these basically anywhere on Amazon. I think I bought like a pack of 5 different sizes, so you can make multiple different sizes of pom-poms. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to hold it, so if you can kind of see, there's raised bumps here and then there's little holes on the other side. So you basically just want to line up the holes to the the bumps to the holes. It's not going to stay in place right now. Once you get yarn on there, it will stay in place, but you'll have to hold it in place for now. And when you close it, you want to be able to close these little clasps over both of the over both sides. So it should look like this. So for today's pom-pom, I'm actually going to be using 2 strands of yarn together. Now you can literally do anything with a pom-pom. You can just do one single color, you can do thick yarn, you can do thin yarn. I'm doing kind of a combination of thin and thicker yarn. So basically how we're going to start is we're just going to grab one side of our pom-pom maker and we're just going to anchor our yarn on the one side. Now I like to just wrap it around once and anchor it a little bit more. This is kind of the hardest part, but once you get started, it's easier. And then what you're going to do is you're just basically going to wrap this around all the way across like this. Making sure that you're getting it all the way over to the edge again. And then you're going to go all the way back, same thing. And you're basically just going to keep doing this. And the goal here is to get this ring to be flush right here. So you want to fill all this space with yarn. That's how you get like a really good chunky pom-pom. So I'm just going to keep wrapping this until it's all full. And once you're all done that step, then I will meet you back here and we will continue with the next step. All right, so once you are completed one half, you can see that it's really level here. So it's right flush with the top. And you want to make sure that your yarn's not really sticking over the edge. So that is one side complete. So we're going to take our scissors and we're just going to cut the yarn. And then we're going to move on to the other side of our pom-pom. So we're going to take our yarn again. And we're going to anchor it on the edge like we did with the first one, like so. And then we are going to wrap it all the way across. Now I'm just going to turn this so that it's easier to wrap so the other one's not getting in the way. So we'll wrap it along the edge all the way to the end. And then all the way back. And keep doing that until it's flush again with the edge. And once you're done that, I'll meet you back here. All right, so once you have wrapped your second side, we're going to cut that yarn end. Now what we're going to do is we're going to close our Pom Pom Maker, just like that. And what you're going to notice is there's going to be these little clasps that we talked about. So you want to be able to close those, and on the other side as well. So you just have to push it a little bit to close it, like so, and then your Pom Pom Maker will stay shut. Now you have your two yarn ends on either side from wrapping your yarn. So the next step is to cut our pom-pom. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert our scissors right here where there's that little space, and we're going to cut all the way along the edge on this side and then all the way along the edge on the other side, so all the loops are cut. So you want to make sure you're not missing any. So I'm just going to get started. Again, this is kind of where it's important that you have sharper scissors, because the yarn can be really thick, especially depending on what yarn you used. I use really thick, chunky yarn, so mine's a little bit more difficult to get through. So there's one side cut, and that's basically what we're looking like right now. Now we're going to go on to the other side and cut through that side also. It's a hand workout for sure. There you go. And then you just want to make sure that there's no pieces that you've missed when you're cutting it. And that is what our pom-pom is looking like thus far. So the next step after this is we're going to secure our pom-pom. So we're going to take a strand of yarn, and it can just be the same yarn that you used to make the pom-pom itself. And we're going to cut a piece off, probably like at least 12 inches, I would say. Now on the Pom Pom Maker, you can see there's a big space here all the way around. Now that is where we're going to put our yarn. We're going to put it all the way in, and you're going to hear it go through all those like bumps we looked at earlier. And basically what you're going to do is you're just going to tie a really tight knot. Like that. And then you're going to put it all the way to the other side and do the same thing, tie a really tight knot. And this is basically what's going to hold your pom-pom together. So you want to make sure that it's really tight. So that is, if you want to do another knot, again, you do as many as you'd like, but I usually just do one on either side. So once we're at this stage, now we can take our Pom Pom Maker off. So we're just gonna unclip these little Pom Pom Maker holder things. I'm sure that's the official name for it. And on this side as well. And then your Pom Pom Maker should just come right out, both sides. Just like that. Now, I just like to kind of like work with my pom-pom a little bit just to see what I'm working with. You're going to see right away it's not circular. You have all these yarn ends that are sticking out. Some pieces are longer than others. So this is kind of the messier part of pom-pom making, but now we are going to trim the pom-pom. So basically this is really, really simple, but can take a lot of time, especially if you're a perfectionist. But basically all we're going to do is we're just going to cut all the yarn to make it as even as possible and to get, the circular shape that we want. So I want to cut these, kind of more pointed ends off to get that more rounded. And you can absolutely cut the yarn tails off, unless of course you're looking to use those yarn tails to attach to a project such as a beanie or a blanket or whatever you're making. You can use those to attach, but I'm not attaching mine to anything, so I just cut mine off. So this is just a kind of a game of cut a little bit, see how you like it, cut a little bit more, see how you like it, until you have it exactly how you want it. So I'm just going to work on cutting this, and I'll meet you back here when your pom-pom is all cut. All right, and once you are finished cutting, that is your completed pom-pom with the Pom Pom Maker. It's a pretty big pom-pom a pom-pom maker that I used, so it made a very big pom-pom, but you can use different sizes as well. Okay, now for the second way to make a pom-pom, we're just simply going to be using our hand and yarn, and that's it. So to start, we are just going to take our yarn, we're going to anchor it with our thumb on our pinky, and we're just going to start wrapping it around. Now, you can spread your fingers larger for a larger pom-pom, or you could wrap around 2 fingers only if you want a smaller pom-pom, but I'm just going to wrap around 4 for now. And you're basically going to just wrap the yarn until you get your desired thickness of pom-pom. And everybody's going to be a little bit different with this. There's no rule. It's just kind of the more you wrap, the fuller your pom-pom's going to be. So just wrap your yarn as many times as you want, and when you're done, we'll meet back here for the next step. All right, now once you're at your desired thickness for pom-pom, what we're going to do is we're going to cut our yarn, and then we're going to grab our yarn again, and we're going to cut, again, probably about a 12-inch strand of yarn, just like we did for the last one. And this is going to be the yarn we use to secure. All right, so we're going to take our yarn off our hand, and we're going to place it on top of our strand of yarn that we just cut, right in the middle. And then we're going to take our strand and we're going to tie a knot right as most centered as you can get it, and you're going to pull tight. Try and keep that tension while you tie a knot. And then you're going to just go around to the other side again. And we're going to do the same thing, tie another knot. Like so. So this is kind of what we're looking like right now. We just have our strand of yarn that's securing our pom-pom and all of our rounds. Once again, we're going to take our scissors and we're going to cut. Now we want to make sure that we're not cutting that piece of yarn or your pom-pom's going to fall apart. So you're just going to cut the edges. Like so. And you're going to see on this one, you're going to have some smaller rounds on the inside. So just make sure you get all of the different rounds. And that's just caused because you start a little bit smaller with your hands. And then we're going to do the same to the other side. Like that. And once you have all your rounds cut, this is what you're looking like. Now it's a little bit messier than what you get with the Pom Pom Maker, but if you don't have a Pom Pom Maker on hand, this is a great alternative. So same thing now with, as we did with the Pom Pom Maker, we're going to start shaping this to be, you know, in the shape that we want it. So as you can see, there's lots of scraggly outside. It's not really a circle yet. So I'm just going to start trimming my pom-pom to be the shape that I want. So you just trim your pom-pom and we'll meet back here when we're done. And there is your completed pom-pom with just using your hand. For the last pom-pom, we're going to be using a fork. We're also going to need a darning needle if you need it. You don't absolutely have to have a darning needle, but basically we're going to just need to thread our yarn through one of these rungs. So you can either thread it through if you have small enough yarn to fit through here. You can just thread it through without a darning needle, but if you use a bit of a thicker weight yarn, you're going to need a needle to get it through there. So to begin this pom-pom, what we're going to do is we're just going to thread our yarn through the middle rung like that. And then we're going to just hold it with our other hand to brace it. And then we're just going to start to wrap. Now, this is going to be a really tiny pom-pom. I mean, in comparison to the larger pom-pom we already made, they're both quite large compared to this one. So if you want to make a little mini pom-pom, this is a great way to do it. If you don't have a Pom Pom Maker. So just wrap as much as you want. Doesn't have to be a ton since this is a mini pom-pom. It doesn't take as much yarn. I'm gonna wrap. That's probably where I'd like to have it. So it's not too thick, but so we're gonna cut our yarn. And once again, we're just going to take a strand of 12-inch yarn and we're going to cut that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're either going to thread our yarn through this middle rung. Like I had said before, you can just bend your yarn and feed it through there. Or if you can't do that, then you can use a darning needle. And we're just going to feed that through that rung. Just like so. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that yarn that we just put through and we're going to tie a knot. Again, we want this to be quite a tight knot because this is going to be the anchor for our pom-pom. Mine's not through the right rung. There. And then once you've done the one here, you can just take your fork right off. And then we're just gonna move this to the other side and we're gonna tie another knot on this side as well. And this is what we're looking like. So it's very similar to when we did it with our hand, just a lot smaller. So it's only the size of my palm. Now, once again, we're going to take our scissors and we're going to cut, but ensuring we're not cutting that loop that's holding everything together. We're just going to cut our edge. And again, you're going to have probably a few layers of loops to get through. And then do the other side the same way. And this is what we're looking like. Again, a very messy pom-pom. So what we're going to do is we're going to just trim it. Again, this is the same as the other ones. Just trim it to however you like it to be. And once you're done trimming it, I will meet you back here. And here is your completed pom-pom from using a fork. As you can see, it's quite a lot smaller than the one we did with our hand, and even smaller than the one we did with the Pom Pom Maker. So that's how you can make 3 different size pom-poms 3 different ways. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please subscribe if you haven't already and like this video if it was helpful for you. Otherwise, we hope you have a lovely day and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!